Yeah. Yep. My normal everyday shit. All right, bud. I'm going to switch to live. So, we're live, but I'm switching to my face cam, so you will be live. What's going on, everyone?
Howdy.
So today, this is going to be the first episode of what I'm calling the Sewer Symposium podcast. Hold on, let me make sure the levels on this music are down. Today's episode, we're going to talk about Sleep Token, and I'm joined by Jenna K,
Hello.
a co-worker of mine. So I guess we'll just get right into this and talk about like how we found out about Sleep Token. So Jenna, I'll go first, I guess, and then follow up.
Sounds good.
All right. Anybody in chat? First of all, let me know if you guys can hear Jenna. I'm gonna continue, and I'll change levels if somebody gives me the heads up. But so I would say late 2019, I got into Sleep Token by hearing Jaws first, and I was just kind of in a real shit spot in my life. And I won't go into too much, but basically gearing up for a divorce, going through some pretty rough stuff, relationship wise. And Sleep Token spoke to me on kind of a different level than most bands. I was always a metalhead, so Sleep Token was kind of totally different for me to get into. Not that they aren't metal, but the softer side. So I kind of felt like when I got into them and started falling down the rabbit hole that it felt like I was kind of going through the same shit at the same time. However you take their lyrics, but to me, it spoke to me on that level. So yeah, falling down the rabbit hole of Sleep Token and just really diving into all their music, those first two EPs, which I don't think get talked about enough. I would say that like it's kind of almost second nature to want to know who they are, which is kind of why we're here today, actually. But yeah, I think it's second nature of fans to just that really bond with music on that level, to just kind of want to know the artist. And there's a ton of people out there that I'm sure are Sleep Token fans that basically wanted to know or sought out who they were. It didn't change anything for me, other than knowledge of older music and just being able to appreciate all of that. Yeah, that was basically my introduction to them, and just really falling down that rabbit hole. You can go ahead, Jenna.
Well, you are the one that first introduced me to them, and I'm fairly certain it was The Night Does Not Belong to God. So
Yeah.
I came for that. I came for that, and I stayed for everything else. I mean, it was a song that just kept reverberating, in my mind. And I remember asking you, "Hey, what was that band's name?" And
Yeah.
it just every song after that, that's awesome. That's great. Oh my, that song, the lyrics, the everything. So pretty much, yeah, that was about a year after you got into them. I think it was fall 2020.
Yeah.
So that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I remember listening to it at work.
And yeah, I remember thinking anybody that can write lyrics like this, write music that sounds like this, it's just they're amazing. It's a lot of feedback.
Sorry, bud.
You're good. But I distinctly remember driving to go pick up pizza one day, and I was just listening to their music, and I just every song I was like, oh wait, that's my favorite song. No, that's my favorite song. Bloodsport, live, can't get enough of it. Sugar, oh my, this song, everything about it. I would have to say I've probably listened to the new album the least through and through, because you're right. There's the EPs, there's the first two albums. I just hooked. Sometimes
Yeah,
I have to take breaks because I'll just get so immersed in it. I guess you could say I'm an audiophile. I mean, I'm not just into one type of music.
same.
There's classical music that sometimes I just really get into. There's old country music that speaks to me, where you get goosebumps when you listen to a song. And I think that's one reason why they really stood out to me as a band. And they're the only band that I've spent money on to go see live, probably in the last 5-10 years.
Right, right. Yeah, they I don't- I think that they're just all around super super talented musicians. Everybody in
Yeah.
the band, everybody involved in Sleep Token is just super talented dudes. Um, Obviously, Vessel and Two are mainly the ones in studio, but it really takes a lot. It took a lot for them to kind of develop and fall into the characters that they would later on become, especially Three.
I think that's
Yeah,
another thing about them. I wouldn't ever be able to fully like classify them in just a couple words, because their music is kind of fluid. It's hard, but it's meaningful, and it's deep, and it's thoughtful. But then, at first glance, I show somebody this new band that I'm listening to, and they're like, "Oh my god, dude, that's evil, man." It's like, well, listen to their music. Maybe the look is something that some might classify as evil, but they're not. They're so multifaceted. And then you go
no,
see these guys live in concert, and they're just a whole new world.
well, and that's I think that's a huge part of Sleep Token is the whole theatrical side of Sleep Token is.
They really developed just over the past few years that I've been watching them and interested in them and listening to them.
But yeah, those first two EPs, I always feel like, well, I mean, obviously that's the thing, and I think it is TikTok kind of blew. I can't even say kind of. TikTok blew Sleep Token up for sure. I mean, not that they didn't have the talent to do it themselves, but there were points where I'm like, why isn't this band getting the love that they deserve? And then all of a sudden, the summoning drops, and boom, like almost overnight, Sleep Token is everywhere, everywhere.
In complete like contrast, I was like, I don't want anybody else to find out about them. They're so
Right.
amazing, and I don't, because
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
distinctly remember having a conversation with you, and I said, Chris, these guys are amazing. You're like, yeah, I know. I mean, obviously, but we had this conversation about how they're gonna get what's gonna happen when they get so big, because there
Right.
are idiots out there, there are assholes out there that don't want to have nice things. They don't want to let us have nice things, or they think they're really cute when they're like, oh, I know who they are, man. It's like,
Right.
yeah, I know who they are too, but I'm not saying anything about it. And to
Well,
your
and
point
that's
earlier,
go ahead.
just wanting to know who they are, because they're such talented people. They have so much more than just this guy can play bass really well or something like that. They have it's more talent than most bands out there. I mean, Sleep Token could fart in a jar, close it up, and I would pay money to go to a concert where they opened it up, and it'd probably still be sound better than half the stuff that's out there right now. I mean,
I would agree.
I do think that they have a talent that I've never personally experienced in my life. And I've gone through a lot of different music genres, where I was into something for a while. I just their music is good. I really wish there was a better, more eloquent way for me to say it, but truthfully, at the end of the day, they have good music that I want to listen to. And they have albums that are kind of all, depending on what mood I'm in, music or excuse me, EPs, albums. I'm into this right now. This is what I'm feeling
Right.
right now.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing about their discography, I would say, is they are definitely a band where you could throw on, like you just said, I'm feeling this, or I'm vibing with this right now. So this is what I'm gonna listen to, and their catalog already. I mean, I think that's where they're underrated in a sense. Is most people know the Summoning, most people know Take Me Back to Eden, and I mean, I'm not saying we're the only. There's a lot of people that started listening to them early on, and but like I said, TikTok really blew them up in that sense. So I don't think a lot of their other music gets touched on as much or talked about as much. Especially that first album, Sundowning, is really just front to back, unbelievable musically, all the way
Yeah.
around. And there's not a single album that I could say that that same, you know what I mean? That same thing could be said about every album and EP they've released. They just don't release bad music.
Yeah, I really enjoy going back to some of their albums, and you're just like, I haven't listened to Thread the Needle in a while, and you're listening to it and you're like, it's just so good. Like, it's so good. And
Right.
I mean, I get it. To each their own. Maybe there's some people out there that would disagree with me, and they're stupid, and I don't care. No, I'm just joking. That's fine. Everybody has their opinion, but truthfully, that's why I get so much out of it. Is because I can listen to their music over and over again. I said this to you a while back. I was like, you wonder what some artists, musicians think of their earlier work in terms of the body of work, and there's obviously going to be growing, maturing, changing, but like for them, I can't imagine that they look back and they're like, man, that stuff really sucked. I
Right.
don't see that. Do you know what I mean? Like, as
There
far
are a
as a
lot of
fan,
artists too that happens to. There are artists that I like that will not play certain albums live because they just
yeah,
really were not. It was either rushed and they just weren't feeling it, and just it happens all the time. So yeah, I don't think that would be the case with Sleep Token either. And
I would
then
hope not, because I look at their stuff as like it was well crafted, and they weren't being pushed by. I mean, I would think that they weren't being pushed by management, or some sort of like record deal in the beginning. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't get that vibe. I could
I
be
don't
wrong.
I don't think that's the case. And to be completely honest with you, knowing their background, just kind of in the past few years, they are very capable of writing or putting out material. Definitely, I don't think there's. I hope there's no signs of that slowing down.
Right.
But yeah, I really feel like, and I'm okay. I've come to accept it. It's kind of like you and I have talked about before. I'm not trying to be a gatekeeper or anything like that, but I think that we live in an age where social media is kind of everything, and so there, for lack of better words, there becomes like a herd mentality. The new big thing on TikTok is everything, and that shit's everything for that period of time. But as soon as people are done with it, they're done with it. So that's where it's kind of like, I think the ones that fell down the rabbit hole, like us and a lot of other people that I've seen talk about them or heard talk about them, it's the bond that you have kind of, and I've talked about this with a buddy of mine that's usually in my live streams. You form this bond with music, especially if you just really, really love music in general. and it's like something, it's almost like a relationship, you know what I mean? Like you grow to love this thing, and then you want to know everything about it, or so Sleep Token is that band for me for sure. And like you said, there's not really been any other band in my life. There's plenty of bands that I've said these are my favorite bands at this point in time, but I don't think I really meant it like I mean it with Sleep Token.
Yeah. I have so much respect for them. J- just at a glance, you're right. We did go down a rabbit hole, but we weren't trying to, out their identities. It really was just an admiration, you know, how these guys are so good. Like I remember saying to you, "Hey, I don't know a whole lot about, you know, drums, but do most drummers have that sort of a setup like
Yeah,
too?" And
yeah, it's
you're like, "No, they don't." And you watch
no.
him play, man, it's awesome.
The amount of like symbols and everything that two uses is, like I said, there are bands like Lamb of God. When Chris Adler was in Lamb of God, he played with a kit kind of similar in a sense of the dude just loved symbols, and two has gone on to even explain, like he was kind of into electronic style music, so that's kind of where his influence comes from. But that dude is, I'm not even a I'm a guitar player first. I'm not even a drummer, and I know very little about drums. Actually, if you had to put any instrument in front of me and I knew that I was going to fail, it would be drums. So I know very little about drums, but two is just on a different level. That the dude is a machine.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I can't really say anything more to that. You're absolutely right. Um, you and I both seen them live. We've been so lucky to be able to have seen them live.
Yeah, yeah. One thing real quick, Jenna.
Hmm.
My buddy Josh, he's always in my streams. He says, "So is Sleep Token a band where you can name one album to recommend to someone new, or are they varied enough you'd have to ask what they're into in order to make that choice?"
Wow, that's interesting because I wouldn't say I was in a terrible place in my life, but I guess I'm always sort of a downer person, and like that's just me. And listening to that first song that you introduced me to, that when you introduced me to them, it just hit, you know what I mean? And so I really don't know the answer to that question other than just throw a song at somebody and see if they like it. But that's me. I don't really always think there's a direct answer
Well,
when it comes to what is a person going to react to, you know what
so
I mean?
so let me ask you this, and I'll answer the same question. If you had to name one Sleep Token song that you are going to show to a new listener, what would it be?
Oh, Bloodsport. I guess I can't really deny that Bloodsport is a song that to me he's pouring out his soul. And if you want to watch as well as listen, there's just no denying that this guy, it is the band, but truly like that's what drew me to the band is
Well, and
Vessel.
that's kind of the driving force to the band, some
He
could say.
it is because I'm watching this guy. He eats, sleeps, and breathes music. He is an artist, a composer, a lyricist. I mean, it's just one of those things that makes it more than a song. He's pouring his heart out, and he's doing an amazing job of it. I just admire people like that, that are so talented, but um,
Well, they
just
have like a
talented and that's
soulful way of putting
fearless.
it into music.
Yeah, I mean, I wanna reach out and say things all the time, and then I'm like, delete, 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 delete. So to be so talented, but then to go out there, if I had the ability to sing like that, to play music like that, I could see myself having done the same thing. I don't want to be known as me, this weird person that I look at in the mirror. Yeah, I don't want the music to be about me. I want the music to be about the music. So that resonated
Right.
with me.
Right.
I mean, wow, like an extremely long-winded answer that went all around.
No,
What
you're
song
good.
would
So
what song
so
would you recommend, Chris?
so the song that I would probably recommend would be Alkaline. And I say Alkaline because I feel like Alkaline kind of gives you a look into kind of like I feel like Alkaline is a song that breaks down pretty much Sleep Token in a sense of, musically. You know what I'm saying? Where like I just feel like it shows the genres that, and they define a lot of like they've played funk, they've done kind of like more rap style vocals. Vessel has more recently, anyways. But yeah, I would say for me it would be Alkaline.
Yeah. And to throw an addendum onto my answer, they've done Bloodsport a few different ways, and so there's the live version, and then the album. Correct me if I'm wrong, Chris. He cries at the end of the song. Like it's
Yeah,
not like
that's the so that is the album version of Bloodsport, not
right.
the
Okay.
from the room below version.
So just to point that out, you listen to that song and then you love that song, and then you listen to it the other way, and you're like, I love it this way too. And I am typically somebody that despises live versions. I just don't. I don't know. I wouldn't say despise. That was a little bit harsh. Let me dial it back. I typically will hear a live version and be like, man, nah. I'll just listen to
Right.
the recorded version. It's probably like I'm a little bit autistic or something like that, where I'm like, that's wrong. Um, so that was another thing about Bloodsport, is hearing it in multiple versions, and it's good in every version, and I'm still getting a sense that the guy singing the song, the person singing the song, means every freaking word of this song, and
Right.
it's just pouring out of him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Bloodsport is definitely. I can see why you picked that song.
And I
It
can see why
definitely
you picked
shows
Alkaline.
more emotionally what the band is kind of about, in a sense.
Yeah, yeah. Alkaline though, I will say this: you start reading those lyrics, and this guy is a genius. I mean, they're really good lyrics. I wished I could say things a little bit better, but truthfully, like that's another thing that hooks you into the music, is you really start to listen to what they're saying, and you realize that he actually has something to say, for one, and he makes it sound good.
Right, right. So I guess we'll fast forward a little bit and go to kind of like, so currently my life is in a totally different position than it was when I first started listening to Sleep Token. So most would kind of be like, well, why do you still listen to Sleep Token now? Like like you're not depressed anymore, but it's like, no,
Right,
I
right.
think that's it's totally different in a sense of I can listen to Sleep Token and I just still feel like I don't know, almost in a sense that they were kind of like helpful in pulling me out of that point in my life. So I just look back at that. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what got me out of some really horrible times. And most people can say that about a lot of music. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of universal if you're a fan of music. You know what I'm saying? There are bands that just speak to you,
Yeah.
or are artists that speak to you in a certain way. But then, so you've talked about we've seen them live, so we'll kind of get into that. You can actually go first.
Yeah, the second I saw that they were touring in the US, and
And this
they
was right
were
before all the TikTok and the summoning and everything.
this would have been 2021, right?
I believe
Yeah.
so. It was in
Yeah.
September. It was in September. I know that.
Wait,
Yeah, I
maybe
think
it
you're.
was 20.
It
I don't
was
know,
right.
man.
I think it was 2022 actually.
Okay, that sounds better.
It was right before because yeah, because if you remember correctly, right at the beginning of 2023 is when they started releasing all the singles off of Take Me Back to Eden.
Yeah, and they were still small. They had like maybe 70,000 followers. They were the third in line behind who even cares? You know, that was the only
Right.
reason I was going to see them. Sorry, Nothing More and the other band. But I remember a couple months before that, they had some message go out, I think on Instagram. It was like, if you could pick anywhere that we would play, you know, where would it be? And true Jenna fashion, I had like multiple answers that I didn't give because, you know, I'm like, I should write this. And I was like, no, I'm scared. Like play in the middle of the woods, I'd go see you there. But I actually thought, you know, it would be a really cool place, a really cool venue for them is the Agora in Cleveland. And seriously, I hadn't been to the Agora in a while, but I knew that would
Yeah,
be a
it'd been
good
a long
venue.
time since I've been.
And then I saw where they were playing, and I was like, I'm going. I think I bought tickets like that night. Um, and my husband was cool enough to go with me, even though it wasn't his thing. But it was awesome. I mean, I actually like put my hands to my chest and cried tears when they started singing Mine because
Yeah, mine
again,
was
it's not.
amazing live.
Yeah, I mean, they were for them not being the headliner. To me, how I wouldn't have known. Do you know what I mean? Like they were the headliner to me. It wasn't
Oh,
just
they were
music
to
and hearing
me.
it live. That yeah, it was like the whole performance was if like you have like a visceral reaction to something. Um, and like I said, I kind of stopped. Maybe I didn't really say. I stopped going to concerts a while back because I felt like I was just some idiot in a crowd trying to see somebody play music, and it was just people touching me, and like the beers were expensive, and I just started getting old and crotchety. So this experience just blew everything else out of the water, and I'm like, all right, probably not going to see anybody play live ever again unless I can go to the UK and watch them, you know, because we didn't know it was going to happen that fast and that crazy that they were going to be on tour like very shortly after that. You know what I mean? Months. I mean, they took barely any break at all.
Yeah, I feel like from the moment we heard that they were playing live, their careers just kind of skyrocketed after that. And
Yeah.
and then not only that, but they already had a tour planned after. They were going back across the country after they left the well, you also went to the Pennsylvania show, right? So
Okay. So yeah, they had a concert that was canceled. The headliner, help me out, buddy. What was their name?
in this moment.
In this moment, somebody got sick. The whole show was canceled. So all of a sudden, because I'm obsessing at this point a little bit, I noticed that they had a show very near me, and there was enough time for me to plan for it. So yeah, they had basically like a pickup show in Pittsburgh, and I was like, I mean, I kind of like hemmed hawed over it, and then finally, you know, I asked you if you wanted to go, and it maybe wasn't working out for you. So then finally, I was like, fuck it, I'm going. I don't care. I'm going by myself. Whatever. I'm a big kid, sort of, you know. And it was awesome. It was awesome. I don't know if you want me to tell the whole story of what I experienced, other than I was just the biggest nerd in that crowd, and like exactly the
No,
same.
go for it. I mean, that's the thing. I kind of like want other people to that haven't gone or, you know, consider going or, you know, older fans or newer fans, like just your experience on like you said, you went by yourself. So,
So yeah, I went by myself. It was actually a pretty cool venue. It was on the banks of a really big river, and so there's it like a park essentially, sort of entwined around this concert venue that's set up to do outdoor concerts as well as indoor concerts. At this time, I think it was October, so it was a little chilly, so it was an indoor concert. And I was just strolling around, and I mean, I actually saw them. I saw the band members. And just as a point, because of what we're going to get into later, I'll say this. As much as I wished I could have gone up to them and said, hey, you guys are amazing or whatever, I'm actually okay with the decision that I didn't, because I just respect them so much to not have been, I didn't put them in any sort of situation where they had to feel the need to either deny their identity or feel completely awkward, or you know what I mean? Like, I can at least say that I respected their boundaries and I kept my distance, and I didn't, just go gushing all over them. I don't even know what I
Right.
would have said. I probably would have had a stroke, because that's the other side of it, is that I'm just that kind of person where it's like, yeah, I'll just go say this, and then you're like, and you just
Right,
have.
right. Just spaz out.
But that made the concert that much more amazing, because for me, we kind of knew who the members were. It just meant that they were real people, and then I saw them perform, and it was the most amazing show ever. I mean, I'm telling you, Chris, I don't like to touch people. I don't like people touching me. We were crammed. I was maybe 10 feet from the stage, and three, just as amazing performance. Four, it was awesome seeing him play, because I couldn't really see either one of them at the Cleveland show, probably because I was so focused on Vessel's performance. And two, but yeah, just I could see all four band members very clearly. And again, the show was just such a presence with like the lights and special effects. It was I had to like actually relax before I got back in my car and drove 2 hours home. Like, it was that like energizing of an experience. I'm so glad I did it. I'm so glad I did it. I don't know if I'll
Yeah,
ever do
I
anything like
I
that again, but
definitely
yeah.
regret not going to that show, bud.
Yeah, you couldn't have known, because their album dropped maybe just a few months later. Wasn't it in December? No, excuse me. They
Uh,
didn't drop the album. They
January.
dropped
Yeah.
Chokehold. And then
Dropped
after that, that's
yeah, they dropped
Chokehold, then the Summoning, and it was
yep.
pretty much just all over after that.
Yeah.
They blew up.
Yeah, then after that literally shows were selling out in like literally 10 minutes. One of which my buddy Evan went to. So he was able to see them and everything during that time, but I think like you kind of luck out seeing them now. Like, you really got to be on top of that shit. I know that when I saw them at the Agora, it blew me away immediately that Vessel just like the whole band, first of all, just sounds exactly like they do in a studio. I've seen a lot of
Yeah.
bands live,
Yeah.
and I have tons of respect for the music scene, but I really think it says a lot about you as a musician, to me personally. Your live show says everything about you to me, because I have seen bands that I loved, and actually walked out during the middle of their set. They were so bad live, and it kind of just puts a different, like, okay, so you guys are just great in the studio, like, and that's fine if listening to music is your thing, but if you enjoy going to shows and stuff like that, you want bands that you really listen to just kill it live. So that was definitely the experience for me with Sleep Token, was just blown away at how they sounded live. I was kind of far away. Similar, you and Pat were above me and Mandy, but I
Yeah,
think
I'm really
that
like, I gotta sit for shows most of the time, buddy.
yeah. See, I stood and I was maybe like around where the sound guy was. Actually, I was not far from the sound guy at all, because
No, but you're absolutely right. I mean, I've gone to shows where I'm like, it's just noise at this point. Like, I can't even
right,
tell what, I'm just here for this. And even a couple of recent shows that somebody else bought tickets for me, and I went. I'm not trying to be a harsh critic on this. It's just, if you're standing and you're watching a show and you're very aware that you're standing, I'm just gonna throw it out there. That's the first thing for me. If you know what I mean.
right.
So if I'm watching a show and I'm don't even realize like what's going on around me, that's how immersed I am with it. That says something.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're one of the few bands that I've seen live that just really, really all out kill it. As far as the, like, I know, we could obviously talk about that Wembley show, because I think that Wembley show is important, and just in general. But the first time that Vessel actually experienced any type of issues on stage, but
He got choked up, and then the audience sang for him.
yeah, for a little while, and but the crazy part about the Wembley show is, and I guess we can kind of just lead right into the topic of today's video, followed by the Wembley show, because I think there is a lead in for me anyways. So the Wembley show was coming up, and that shit was getting teased all over the place. Like, they made that little trailer inside the building that looked like all CGI. You couldn't even tell what it was, but people found out real soon that it was the Wembley Arena. They were
Which is incredible to look. I just have to say really quick, to look at some of the venues that they played at when they were here in their the first time they were in the U.S., and looking at when they were headlining, how huge these venues are. Like, you have to say something about how crazy that is for a band to take off like that.
Yeah, it is insane.
And Wembley is huge.
Yeah, Wembley is so I knew Wembley was going to be a huge thing for them.
Like
I mean, obviously they're, what's that?
A game changer in terms of their,
well, the way that they were gearing up for the Wembley show was what told me that something was going to happen. Me personally, crazy enough, my theory was that they were going to unmask at Wembley. I don't know why I felt that. I think it was because even the shirt that I'm wearing, the dude that we've talked about before, Jenna, the guy on the Euclid song, the character for Euclid that's holding Vessel's head. I don't know why, but that to me meant some sort of death, or maybe the end of something. So I actually thought there was a possibility that they would unmask. I'm glad that's not what happened. So they ended up unveiling the new masks. All but Vessels, he already changed, when he started to get that red, I don't know. I guess the only way to describe it for me is like the fancy looking stuff around the outside edge of his mask now.
Yeah.
He had that before the other guys got new masks, and so that will kind of lead right into what happened today. And kind of, I already had the plan to do a podcast to do an episode at least on Sleep Token. I wasn't really gearing up to do that anytime soon, but today kind of changed that, and that's, I'm glad that we were able to just throw this together, and you were really willing to come on here and talk about it too. But so today, 3 was doxed, you said, on Reddit, Jenna?
I believe it was on Reddit.
So basically some dude or some person paid for the birth certificate just for the reason to post it on socials, which led into Sleep Token wiping all of their socials, and then on their Instagram at least putting in their bio, nothing is forever. So, I mean, I don't know. That could be interpreted a lot of ways. They could be just saying that, hopefully, they could be just saying that their identities weren't going to be respected, or, that would last forever. But I don't know.
Yeah, so the only reason I didn't look into it further on the Reddit is because, and this maybe sounds kind of stupid, I don't want to click on any of that shit. You know,
Right.
if that's where some jerk thought that they could get their 15 minutes of fame, or I don't even know what the reasoning was. You know, we kind of said this. Do we have somebody that's got a mental illness and they're just being crazy, or do they get obsessed to the point that they think that that was okay, that what they did? I don't know, or they really just were trying to ruin a good thing. So I'm not sure the person. It does sound like it was an individual, as opposed to maybe a group. That's one
Right.
thing that I was able to find out. There's a couple YouTubers that have already put out videos on this, and one individual said he thought that what it is like, could it be a publicity stunt? And I personally disagree with that. But I mean, what do I know? I just don't think they're the type of
No, I mean,
individuals that would do something like that.
if Sleep Token wanted their identities out there, they would have put it out there themselves, like on
and not
purpose a
in such
while
a
ago.
and not in such a personal manner. I mean, birth certificates and home addresses, that's crazy. I mean, I'm nothing, I'm nobody, and I don't want anybody knowing where I live, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, and that's
uh
why I use the term doxed, because it's not like you just outed somebody's identity and said who they were, but there was, personal information on that shit that, like, that doesn't belong on social media. And but it's the internet, so
right.
let's not fucking fool ourselves, I guess.
Yeah,
It's
so
just
what does this
insane
mean
to
for the
me
future of
that, like, the amount of, like, because as we've already talked about, we knew who they were. There wasn't any reason that we were trying to show other people who they were or anything like that. Like, I wouldn't have got on any type of social platform and just blasted, so and so
right?
and so and so. But yeah, there are people that do that.
Yeah, and again, I don't know, notoriety with somebody thinking that they'd be cool doing this.
So
There's a lot of people that are throwing love at the band right now. If you go to their Facebook page, I'm
So
pretty
this guy
sure.
that just sorry to interrupt you, Jenna. So
That's okay.
this guy that just got into chat here. His name is Dale. He says, "Hi, I'm enjoying listening to your thoughts and experiences of Sleep Token. I should mention that nothing lasts forever is something that they have quoted from the beginning of the band. That is definitely correct.
I mean,
That is
that's true, and that's partly why you and I had so many conversations back in that year before we went and saw them live. It's just like, how are they going to end this? And that was our conversation. Are they going to unmask, or are they just going to, hey man, that was an awesome album, see you later, or not?
right.
And because they're all so talented, they can go on to do anything they want, anything, truly. Like, this, they're not limited to this band of Sleep Token, which, by the way, we are so grateful to have had the opportunity to take part in this, whether just listening to them or going to their shows. It's just been an awesome experience, and I respect them for the whole way that they've presented themselves in terms of wanting it to be about the music. I just think
Well,
that speaks to who they are.
right, and again, like, knowing that changed zero for me. It wasn't like, come to find out, this was some super group of all musicians from the U.S. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
it literally changed nothing for me, and other than I respected everything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I respected everything as far as like older music, the reason why they're doing this, all, anything that you could say, like, about, I don't know. I just feel like, as the fan that I am, I would not have gone to this crazy extent. And I guess that maybe you're right when you say, like, this could be somebody that's, like, really just super obsessed with the band and wanted all these other people to know, like, hey, I know who they are. You know what I'm saying?
There's always that tattletale in class. You know, that kid or that kid that's got to like point out
Right.
the obvious. I mean, I hate to say it, but life is like high school. It's just on a more grander scale.
Right.
But
Oh yeah, you're not wrong.
yeah. So you and I did talk about this. It clearly has happened, maybe not in the way we talked about it, but and if the band pretty much has been saying from the beginning, nothing lasts forever, then to me, I'm going to take it like this. They maybe had a fail-safe plan in place from the very beginning, and it's possible we still get to, as they say, consume. You know, we still get to enjoy the music that they've put out, but it may mean the end of the band as far as public tours and things like that. And that's just that, again, maybe that was the plan that was in place all along. It sucks because of how interesting they were. You know, on top of all the music, we never mentioned the ciphers, dude.
Well, we never mentioned even the lore. You know,
Yeah,
there's such a, you know, backstory to Sleep Token or just lore in general that, like, there's very few people, you know, that go that far into, you know, a buddy of mine that's in chat right now, Sebedemic. The lore that guy has written. The same could be said. There's very few musicians though that I like you said that I've been grateful in listening to, knowing, whatever, that develop that kind of character or, you know, reasoning behind it, whatever it is. But I mean, we didn't even touch on any of that. So there's so much more to Sleep Token than most other bands and most other music that's out there today.
yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm just going to throw out a video to watch if anybody's interested. Sleep Talking Luke on YouTube. And it's, let me see here. It's a video he put out maybe a year or so ago. And it's called Lore. It's pretty much it'll explain so many different things to you and in a way that's really easy to break down. He's got some other videos that are worth checking out, but for me, that was a really good video in terms of just reviewing where the band had gotten to at that point. So yes, Sleep Token Luke is the YouTube channel, and the video is called The Lore. It's worth it. Just if you're curious, if you want to get some more information on how the band came out and started just being mysterious and interesting and awesome as shit.
Yeah, I think that a lot of those videos are kind of more informative than they sum it up in a sense of it's really, like you said, easy to understand.
Yeah, but also just to open up I guess to pique your interest. You know, they're
Right,
not
right.
just, like I said earlier, somebody that just sees them in their masks and they're like, oh gosh, that's evil, man. And it's like, well, maybe learn a little bit more about them. Maybe the masks do look evil to some, but maybe there's more to their message than that. And I don't know. I guess I'm
You
one of
know, a
those
lot of
like,
people said the same thing about Ghost. Actually, as a metalhead, when people first started talking about Ghost, I saw their look and I was like, these dudes kind of look crazy. And then I listened to their music and I was like, okay, totally not what I expected. However, I think kind of getting into Sleep Token, I wouldn't say around the beginning because, you know, 2018, I think they were releasing music then, and you know, but 2019 when I got into them, you know, I only had those first two EPs and Sundowning, and I shouldn't even say I only had because that in itself is amazing. But yeah, like that was around the time that I started listening to them, and it's so crazy to see what they've become, and it's even crazier that what they've become led to all of today. You know, like it got this crazy, it got this out of hand.
Yeah. I mean, again, I kind of saw it coming. Um, and when I say I didn't want them to get big, I realize that sounds selfish and, small minded. Of course, I wanted the band to be successful.
No, but it's
That's what they're
more of
out there
like
to
it's
do.
because it's a personal thing to you.
It's
You know what
because
I'm
I
saying?
could I could immediately see. I'm like, there's just no way these guys aren't going to blow up. It's just a matter of when. To me, that was clear. I'm not any sort of like talent scout here, but like as
Right,
I was
right.
getting through, yeah, as I was getting through Sundowning, and then I started getting hooked on This Place Will Become Your Tomb. Meanwhile, coming across the EPs, and I'm like, they're just so good, and at every turn, there's something a little different, but also there's still who I don't know how to explain it when a band can make difference make different twists and turns when it comes to the way they're putting out some of their music, but it's still distinctly them. It brings so much interest to it that I just don't feel like I'm ever getting sick of it. And
Yeah,
that's
it's
something to
it's
point out
so
because
weird how you could listen to something so much and just it never grows old. It's almost kind of like a movie that you rewatch and find things that you didn't the first time.
that's the best way to describe it, Chris. So I would urge anyone that's interested, yeah, start out with some of their EPs. I mean, one of them's really dark, but I just love it. It just has such a sound and a presence, and it tells a story, but and it's dark. I guess some of us are more have that dark curiosity that stuff like that sometimes is just cool, even if we're not into that stuff personally. But um, as in killing people. I'll just throw that
Right.
out there. I don't really kill people. I don't. Okay, that's weird. Anyways,
So
but still, just the idea that you're like listening to, you're like, dude, that song is so dark, and you're like, yeah, I remember this was our conversation. It was like, but it's so good, and it's just, why
right.
can't a song be about something that's dark and
Well,
disturbing, but
yeah,
also still be amazing?
I think you're. Are you referring to Vor?
Actually, well, Vor has some disturbing roots, but at the same time, I would say Nazareth has a
Oh
really
yeah,
dark story,
Nazareth is very dark.
and it stands
Um,
out. I mean, I really don't know that a lot of their other um, songs that they've released have tell like a story in that sense that's pretty dark.
so the Dale asks again. Can I ask you both which Sleep Token song you first heard? What was it about that song that caught your interest? We kind of already discussed this in the beginning, but for me, the song that I heard was Jaws around the end of 2019, and Jaws just it hooked me. And again, I explained that I was like a metalhead. Like I'm not saying that I'm not, but my favorite band at this time was the Acacia Strain, which is night and day from Sleep Token, and so yeah, it was musically just blew my mind. And then Jenna, you can answer.
So yeah, the first song that I listened to was "The Night Does Not Belong to God." But let me throw this out there, just since we did already talk about that. I don't think it's a popular song, but I love High Water, and
Oh,
it's
High
because
Water's amazing.
I mean, I'm a person that's sort of like stuck in this um like heartbroken kind of personality, that's just because I felt that way for so long growing up, that nobody would ever love me, that I'd never have that it was always unrequited love, but like in a dark way.
Right.
And so when you listen to High Water and you really listen to it, it may not be your type of music either, because it starts out with like that synth. Is that like a synth wave kind of sound? Not everybody's into that, but it has um, just like a, help me out, buddy. The middle of the song, he basically screams, but it's just good, man. And then the outro is really good. It's just a song for me that I can always go back to it. Like, I got to listen to High Water and I got to listen to it right now.
Yeah, see,
And
that song for me that I always go back to is "The Night Does Not Belong
Missing
to
Limbs.
God."
Ah, I tried to guess it. Missing Limbs is special to you, but The Night Does Not
Yeah,
Belong to God is.
yeah,
Gotcha.
Missing Limbs is definitely special to me. Like, and I actually, when we saw them live, I was really hoping, I was kind of hoping that he didn't play that shit, because that song would choke me up to see that live. That song is amazing. But again, you could really say that about all of their music. Like,
I know,
there's
that's why
so many songs. Jericho is amazing.
Jericho. Yes.
Calcutta is
Sorry,
amazing.
Dale. This isn't an easy answer for people like me and Chris, Dale. I was like, how much time do you have? Okay, this one's really good. Wait, listen to this. Okay, now listen to this one.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but
yeah,
I guess that's why I'm glad you invited me on, because I do geek out about this, and I can't really recall something that I've been this excited about in a long time. So I am so glad I got to see them live. I'm so thankful that I managed to be able to see them live twice. Um, and I don't know, like, just, I wouldn't say starting to listen to Token changed my life, but it definitely was. I can see why some people do get so caught up in their music. It's extreme. The lyrics are extremely personal, and the music does tend to affect you if you're somebody that, I'll just say audiophile, somebody that's really into music, gets lost in it. That you definitely can get lost in their music for sure.
yeah. I would say that's how I would describe Sleep Token from the position that I was at in that point in my life. Was kind of like, I don't know, for lack of better words, hope. Knowing that, like, I just didn't feel alone in my life at that time. Like,
Absolutely.
I just didn't feel as depressed when I listened to Sleep Token. You know what I'm saying? It just, it's crazy how much that band kind of, without any other way to say it, changed my life. Like, I wasn't normally a dude that would listen to, like, if I named off most of the music that I listened to, and this is multi-genre because I love lots of types of music, as you said about yourself, they aren't a band that most people would have said, I bet he listens to Sleep Token.
Yeah, actually, I told you a funny story about somebody. I said I was going to this concert. I was driving a PA for this concert, and they're like, "Who was it?" And then they like immediately Googled it, and they're like, "What? Like you don't listen to them?" And it's like,
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I guess to me, it doesn't seem odd that I listen to them. I guess if you're gonna obsess about the masks and like their stage presence, okay, sure, be surprised that I listen to them. But I grew up listening to bands like Radiohead and Pearl Jam, and then into the 2000s, it was like Edema, and Deftones, and
Yeah.
bands
New
that
metal.
were, yeah. And so it doesn't surprise me that I got into a band like this. But that's just me. It's kind of funny that we have a simple, like, I'm glad that you found this band when you did, and I'm glad you introduced them to me. I think we've had a little bit of different experiences with them, but in general, it's been awesome being able to talk to you about this band,
Yeah, dude. I
having the
mean,
conversation about them. You know what I mean? That's one of the things that is awesome about them, is that you can have some long conversations about them.
right. Yeah. And I mean, for me, I mean, I don't like, I was just really in a downward spiral when I found Sleep Token. So it was kind of really a saving grace for me. Like, I've always reached out to music in a sense of a personal, like an emotional type thing. You know
Same.
what I'm saying? So
Absolutely.
So yeah, Sleep Token just fell into my life at literally the time that I needed them most is the only way that I can explain it. And so to be able to show other people Sleep Token and and maybe they get the same, like maybe they get the same fucking vibe from them. I really hope that's what happened because dude, I was in a really bad fucking spot, man. Like I didn't care type spot.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just were there when I needed them to be there is the only way that I can say it.
That's a really good way to describe it, Chris. And I think it's possible that that is one thing that that band wanted, that the members of that band wanted. They wanted to be there for people. And so at least you can say that they did get a community out of this that's loyal to them. I don't know if I mentioned, but if you get on Facebook, there's a lot of really positive comments going towards them just because people are starting to realize what happened. And so I guess the big question now is, are they going to continue playing live shows or is that pretty much it?
I, bro, I'll say this. I was really hoping, and we've talked about this so many times, to get an actual, like, I've never seen a Sleep Token headliner show. I'm
Yeah.
thankful that I seen them when I did. I do feel, however, when it it was so it was kind of like very few live experiences where I had where, like you said, you're so immersed that it literally felt like it went by in seconds. Is the like that's how I felt. I was like, damn, but I
Yeah.
was so consumed and immersed in what was going on at the time that like I just walked away. I just remember walking outside to smoke a cigarette, and then I was hoping to run into you and Pat, and then I
Yeah.
was like, all right, I'm ready to go. Like I don't even care about any of these other bands right now. It was that mind blowing, like the other bands that were there. And I don't mean to be like that because I did pay to see them.
Yeah.
But I really went there knowing that like I was going to see Sleep Token. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we had already discussed that. Just really insane, dude. Really insane
Yeah.
experience. And so that's how I feel is if that is the end of live shows, I would have been super grateful for a headliner Sleep Token show, but I will also take what I got if that's the way we're moving. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I will say this. The second time I saw them live, now that I'm recalling, and this is just an aside, especially for anybody that has any sort of social awkwardness, I always have to have at least one or two beers when I go to a show just to help me be around crowds like that.
Yeah, I'm
And it
usually the
and
same way,
yeah, and
and I don't even drink. So
yeah,
that's the
well,
funny
and I
part.
quit smoking, and that used to be my vice. That would help me out. So I remember though distinctly, I went to the PA show, and there was a homeless guy that was out front, like with a sign. I didn't have any cash on me, so I went and I bought him some food because I knew roughly how the show went. That there were those chicks on stage, the hot ones that were doing all like the dancing and
Oh,
stuff.
like the Cirque Soleil stuff or whatever it's called.
Cirque du Soleil. Dude, I thought you'd remember their actual, like the name of the girls. No, they were
Yeah.
awesome. They were really great performers, but no offense to
Yeah, I
them.
don't remember the name of those guys. It was
Yeah.
some crazy extravagant name.
Yeah, so I went and bought this guy some food and I ran all the way back. It was only like it was like on the same block basically because the way they had this restaurant situated by the venue was pretty close. And I pretty much just like ran inside and I get in there and the place is packed. So like I might have downed a beer like right after I got there, just like after I parked my car and shit. But I just ran into the show and I didn't even care. It was just I remember thinking it was just all about that experience. And I'm not normally like that. I'm normally somebody that just gets caught up in all these thoughts and like second guessing myself. And pretty much once I was able to squeeze my way up to the stage, that was it. And I do wish you would have made it to that show, but I'm not saying it's to, you know, make you feel bad about not going. It's just that
No, no, I
it
don't
was something that
regret.
I'll
I
never
don't really
probably
regret
do.
not going because I definitely could. I don't think financially I could afford to see them again at the time, so I wasn't really
Right.
too pressed about it. Especially like I was still coming off the Sleep Token live high. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like,
Yeah.
all right, I'm cool with not going to the Pennsylvania show, even though I really wanted to go. But I just kind of accepted, like, yep, I'm not going to make it to this show. But it was an experience live, dude. There's very few
It was
bands that
such an
I've seen
experience.
live that made me, or not only bands but artists that I've seen live that give me that same vibe of. And I go to a lot. I haven't been to a show in quite some time, but I was going pretty regularly. I've been to so many concerts when I was younger, especially teenage years. But yeah, there's very few that I'm just like, wow, that was up there for me. Like top tier shit. Sleep Token is that, for
Yeah.
sure,
I can only imagine what those headliner shows were like.
dude. Like shows that are like we got literally, I think it was like 20-25 minutes.
Yeah. But
And
you're
I
right. It
mean,
was
headliner shows like 45 minutes to an hour, like, man. And the songs that they play, well, especially now that there's a totally different set list since we saw them, because most
right.
of that music wasn't even released at the time, especially,
Right.
Take Me Back to Eden. And I would say I have listened to Take Me Back to Eden a lot more, even more so recently. But I would say for me, this place will be your tomb. I would say for me that, or this place will become your tomb. I would say for me that album is the least listened to, and I've still listened to that album a lot.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I think so. Oh, Dale says they have a few shows scheduled in Australia and the U.S. planned for this year. I don't feel like this is the end. Yeah, obviously I don't think they've canceled anything, but I just, here's the way I have to look at it. As much as I love Sleep Token more than a lot of things in the world, dude. If it's the end, if it is the end, okay, I'm very
Hmm.
appreciative and thankful for everything that's happened along the way. You know what I'm saying? Like, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm really thanking them for the fucking ride, bro, because it has been a ride. I don't think it's the end, but I also don't know what's gonna happen. Like, it's just really fucked up what happened today, and I don't really think there's any other way to explain it other than it's just really fucked that you would go out of your way and literally put somebody's personal shit like that on, and literally pay to do it.
Yeah.
And it's even more so reason why, like, no wonder why the dudes didn't want people to know who the fuck they were, because of people like this.
Yeah.
And I think it kills, that's what kills a lot of things, but that could be said literally about everything. But I think so. It's about almost 10 after 8. Jenna, are you cool on wrapping this up?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm gonna get to a point where I'm just gonna keep repeating myself.
Yeah, I
Because
think it's
I do
really
have a
easy to
tendency
do
to
that
do
with
that,
them. Well,
but it
it's
is
easy
very
to do
easy.
that with them.
Oh, for sure. For sure. But I'm happy at any time to talk Sleep Token with anyone.
Oh,
So
and
how's that?
that's probably another thing. Just a heads up for anybody that did join in, or this video will remain on my channel. This
I just want to.
probably isn't the only Sleep Token episode there will be. I'm just gonna give everyone a heads up right now.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
So
Jenna.
much more to say. Oh, I could just go down another, pull another thread and go down another topic. So I was absolutely just agreeing with you. I'm sure we could have more to talk on this at a later date.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Thanks
Well,
for having me, buddy.
yeah, thanks for really wanting to do this, because like I said, it was I had plans on streaming gameplay tonight, and hadn't really geared up for actually got equipment and everything like that to do podcast stuff. So I was like, well, maybe I can throw this together last minute. So you were like, when you said hit me up if you need a guest to talk to, I was like, yes, this is it, dude. So no, dude, really thank you for coming on. And yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up. And like I said, definitely not the last time this topic will be brought up. But thanks to everyone that showed up tonight, and to future people that view this. I will see you guys next time.